so we started making our fall plans, and I just want to know one thing. Do you think that your fall garden is going to help you survive if you need to? That's a really good question, and this is a little bit of a guidance and encouragement for this time of year, because it is going to start to get a little bit more tough and a little bit more tricky, and there's going to be a lot of different techniques that we use to get everything going in the right direction and to keep our garden strong. But when we take a look at our garden, we know we already have challenges from the very beginning. I think it's best to start from the ground up. And so what I want to do is I want to start focusing on the soil, and then we'll work our way up to the actual plants. So if you take a look at your garden now, you're probably seeing something that's just not producing well, right? There's a section in everybody's garden that's just not doing the best, right? So we've struggled on this trellis this year. Don't know why, but we have struggled on it. And then if we look in here, you know, this bed right here, this is what's left of our tomato and pepper bed, one of them. And it is definitely showing its age, it's tired. It needs, honestly, it probably needs to be ripped out, but we're gonna let it run for a little bit longer. This is totally normal this time of year. It's, you know, we're into late August at this point. The summer has dragged on, you know, right now. So I'm in coastal North Carolina, and we just got like a week of like rain, drizzle, and super humid. And it's gonna show on your garden. It's gonna take its toll, right? And you're gonna get storms and stuff like that. And it's natural to look at your garden and be like, I don't even think I can do it, right? But don't fight the uphill battle, fight the good battle, right? This is a marathon. This is absolutely not a sprint. And I know we've talked in previous videos about like the fastest crops to grow for survival, and then just basically the good crops to grow for survival. So we've given you some good groundwork for that, but let's keep going and see what we can do to make things a little bit better. I do keep bringing you over to these beds, but for good reason, because this is a really big part of it. So this is all about amending, getting things going. And I see here that we actually have mushrooms growing now. So that's good. That means we have some good decomposition going on in this bed, which is what we want. So, and we've done this in a lot of beds. So these two beds, this bed's got cover crop in it. This bed over here of buckwheat is also another cover crop, which is starting to flower in perfect time for our bees. So that's really good. We've got a couple cover crop over here. So we've got a lot of different things going on. We've got a couple beds resting. And that's really what you want to do. One thing I'm going to do is, my cat keeps bumping into me and scaring me every time. I feel like it's a snake or something. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to this trellis, which we've really struggled with. So this has just become a giant mess this year, and I didn't really want to mess with it, but what we're going to end up doing is we're going to pull everything out, and then I'm going to tarp it. And I'm just going to tarp it and just cook it and not even worry about it right now. It's crazy. It's just not working out well. So, you know, there's always something that you need to just kind of walk away from, but do something in the right manner. And so we'll do that here, but everything else we do, we're trying to move in that direction and get that soil right for our planting date. So I have officially moved plants outside. It's gonna be hot this week, so I'm probably gonna keep them in the shade for most of it, but we're supposed to get a cool down next week, which should mean I can start planting stuff in probably next week at some point, especially under that shade. I think that can be really good too this time of year is getting some kind of a soil test. I do need to test these beds back here more so than all of these beds. These are fairly new, and these are new, and these are fairly new. So we do need to do a soil test. We're probably, truth be told, not gonna do one. Word of warning, don't get those home tests. Those aren't any good. Like for me, my extension service does a soil test program where you can take it, and it's weird. It's like a certain time of year, you charge like $1 a box of soil, and then after a certain time of year, it's totally free. And what I do is I take each individual raised bed and I get its own box. So when I send off my sample, I'll send 11 samples off, well, really 12 because of the greenhouse. And so I just do that at the free time of year. What I will say though, no matter what, and this is every garden I've been in North Carolina and up in New England and Massachusetts. Always get a soil test back, and it always says put nitrogen in your soil and lower your phosphorus every single time. And you can't really lower phosphorus very easy. That's why we do buckwheat, because it does take it out. But what you can do is you can get fertilizer that has less phosphorus in it. So just think about that. It's an amendment that doesn't really get used a whole lot, and it can build up in your soil. So just do that. The last time I got a soil test, I ended up having to put calcium in. I was calcium deficient. And once I did that, things changed completely, because calcium is actually a big driver of fertilizer and water transport. So, and those go hand in hand. So once I put the calcium back in, under the guidance of the soil test, it made a big difference. I would never add anything without a soil test other than standard fertilizer or nitrogen or anything like that. Get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. One thing I would do and really focus on is what seeds you're using. So think about it in multiple ways. One, this is basically spring 2.0, right? It's a little bit different because we're going into a frost instead of coming out of it, but it's the same idea. So just think about that, and think about the limited time you have before you have to take any other additional steps to protect your crops. So your seed selection is going to make a big difference. Notes on seed selection: depending on where you are, it may in fact be too late, and it's getting too late across the board for the most part, for cabbages and broccolis and stuff like that. But you can play with varieties, right? So you can get a faster growing variety. A lot of times what you can do is you can get a smaller producing variety. So like if you got a cabbage that produced, it says it produces 1 pound to 2 pound head of cabbage. Well, that's going to be done a lot faster than a cabbage that produces 4 or 5 pound heads, right? So just think about it like that. Think about it when you do your tomatoes. I can bring you to a tomato bed, but there's not much left of it. But a cherry tomato will produce way, way more quantity-wise and faster than a large slicer tomato, right? And that's across the board. I find with a lot of crops, the smaller the actual produce, the more and faster it produces. So just think about that. And then the other thing you can do is play around with your varieties as far as like heat tolerance. So if you're further in the south, maybe you need a little bit of heat tolerance. If you're farther in the north, maybe you need a little bit of cold tolerance. I'm not a big proponent of this. I don't think it's necessarily true or accurate, but at the same time, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. And sometimes you just gotta have that to make sure that you're covering all your bases. One thing to say, and this may not be popular, and I really don't care if it's popular, because this is a method that I've used and it's worked really well for me. It helped me cross major hurdles. For our Brussels sprouts, for instance, we actually switched over to a hybrid Brussels sprout. And what that did is that produced more and faster, because one, they're bred to do that, but two, they had a little bit more disease resistance, and we planted them, I think it was last year in this bed. We did side by side. No, it was the year before. We did in this bed, we did a row of heirloom and then 2 rows of hybrids, and the hybrids absolutely outperformed to the extent in which we actually got a harvest off of them versus no harvest off the heirlooms. What's the big deal with a hybrid and heirloom? Really, it's not genetically modified, so it's not GMO. What it is it's just the 2 traits of different plants bred together to create a seed that gives you the desired traits that you want for your plant, right? So it's not like they're magic, but the test doesn't lie. It absolutely did. It produced more, and to the point where it produced and the others didn't. But the big thing about it is, if you want to save seeds, you really need to grow hybrids, right? But I'm not saving Brussels sprout seeds. I have no interest right now in having a Brussels sprout go to actual seed and tying up that space in my garden. If I was going to do that in the future, I'd probably plant some in a container or something like that, to where I could do that. But for right now, I'm not concerned about that. I'm just worried about getting the production down and learning how to grow it well. It's a difficult crop to grow in my area, so I need to learn how to do it. And I think last year we did fine. I think this year we'll do a little bit better. Maybe next year we can kind of move on to that. But sometimes a hybrid does help, and it helps you break that mold and really start to figure out how to grow a certain crop. Not really going to get too much into this right now, but as we set up the shades recently, these same structures will be used for low tunnels in the future as well. And that really makes a big difference, and to the point of extending your harvest by months and your grow time. If you don't believe me, well, read up on it and just wait and see. We actually talked about this on a Backyard Gardens podcast episode, I don't know, maybe last year or something. I'm sure you're not going to go look and find it, but these things happen. The way it works is it's all about the recovery temperature. And I'm going to say that a lot in these videos for the next couple months, because it is the most important factor. And I have to find the study, but I'll bring it to you guys and show y'all how it works out. But that makes all the difference in the world, and the recovery time is a huge, huge difference. So just think about that as you start growing and really planning it out, because the question here, if we go back to the beginning, is are you going to be able to survive off of your fall garden, right? So you have to look at these and say, are we taking these steps? Are we making these measures? Or are we just going into this and planting and just hoping? Because hope will get you pretty far, but it won't get you to the finish line, right? There ain't nothing like going out there and actually getting to it and really making it happen and fixing the problems that you see right offhand. That ain't gonna fix itself. I mean, end of story. That bed wasn't gonna fix itself, right? We had to intervene, and we have to do things to do it. That bed over there, that is absolutely not gonna fix itself. It is only gonna get worse, and I can wait until wintertime for all those weeds to die, but guess what's gonna happen next spring? It's going to explode in weed growth. That's something that we do not need. Take a look at my garden right now, and based on only my plans and the method that I've done to take control of everything and to get things prepared, I would say we have about a 70% chance of being able to survive off of our garden for the winter. Couple things that we can do to make that better here is, first of all, planting would be great, but that's just a time thing, right? We're just waiting for the right time. But continuing to get this bed over here ready, this bed ready. If we can harvest this in time and get the sweet potatoes out and the beds turned over, that will absolutely help. Keep in mind, as we talked about this today, that we're not really focusing on what we've preserved. We're just trying to focus on what we're going to be able to pull out of our garden, right? So that makes a big difference. One of the things that'll bump us up in our percentage score is getting this bad boy cleared out, which we're going to do next week. So we've got our corn stalks drying in here, and we just got to go through and cut it. I've got to fix the water lines in there. I had one, I think something chewed through it, of course. So I've got to fix that and start rehydrating that soil. But once we do that and we get that set, then that's going to up us even more. So we're taking all of our steps appropriately, and it's just going to be a time by time moment. So right now we have September, November, October. We have 3 months until our first frost, but more importantly, we're losing sunlight every single day, and that causes a real issue. So that's why it gets a little bit harder versus spring, where spring you're getting more and more sunlight, but now we're getting less and less, so everything is a little bit exaggerated time-wise. Goodbye.